still remember the day like it was yesterday. One of the most exhilarating fishing days that I've ever been on, and this happened to be in Alaska. I've been on a lot of fishing trips. I lived in Alaska for about 4 to 5 years, and we did a lot of fishing while we were there. We went salmon fishing, we went crabbing, halibut fishing from boats, from the shore. Halibut fishing has been one of the most exciting trips that I've been on, just because of the sheer size of the fish. I mean, they could be gigantic, a couple 100 pounds, as large as a small Volkswagen. They're just big fish, and because they're so large, it brings a lot of excitement along with it. Fishing in Alaska is pretty dangerous if you don't plan appropriately. So a lot of our fishing trips always started out with packing our lunches, packing up our gear, and getting ready to go out. On this specific day, it was just like any normal day for us to go fishing. We went almost every weekend during the season. This day was just like any other day. I had packed my lunch, I had packed my gear, we had loaded up into my father's truck and driven down to the marina. When we got down to the marina, it was a beautiful day, just like it normally is when we go. You could look out of the boat dock and see all the boats out in the marina. It's sort of calm that early in the morning because the wind hasn't had time to kick up yet, and the water is reflecting all the boats. It's slick as glass. It's the most beautiful thing you could ever imagine. So we load up into the boats, stow all our gear away, and we drive out to the fishing area. Now these fish live deep. They live really deep. They live so deep so it takes you about an hour to get out to where you can actually catch them. When we finally get out to the area where we're going to try to catch these halibut today, we have to start dropping anchor and get ready to catch them. Let me give you a brief description. Because these fish are so large, they don't take regular fishing gear. You've seen fishing poles at Walmart. You've probably seen fishing poles, deep sea fishing poles to catch those marlin and some of those other large fish. It's very similar to those types of fishing gear to grab these big, monstrous halibut. The fishing poles are probably as big around as 2 of my thumbs stacked together. The line that you use is more like rope. It's definitely not thin, and you cannot see through it. It's not clear. You also have a big cannonball weight that's about as big as my fist. Probably weighs 3 pounds, maybe 2 to 3 pounds, that you attach to the line so you can drag it all the way to the bottom very quickly. And you use these large circle hooks. These circle hooks are probably as big around as a $50 or Kennedy $50. And you put the stinkiest kind of food you could ever think of, some rotten fish guts on the end of this hook. Well, what you have to do is you have to drop it down to the bottom. Once you get it to the bottom, you bob it up and down. You're just dragging this cannonball across the bottom of the ocean. You never really know if you have a fish on there or not as you're fishing for these halibut, because you're just dragging along hoping you come across the path of one of these halibut, or hopefully your bait's stinky enough that they come to get yours. So as you're dragging, you're hitting rocks, you're hitting crevices in the bottom, you may even hit a spot of sand. Not too sure what's going on the bottom because you can't see that far down. All of a sudden you feel a yank on your pole. Was that a vine, or did I drag across a rock? You really have no idea. You take the chance of yanking it up for 20 minutes to see if you caught a rock or some kelp, or maybe you have the elusive halibut on the end of your pole. This particular day I felt a bump. It's like, okay, I'm pretty sure that that's a bite. I've gotten pretty good at this by now, so let's go ahead and yank it up and see what we got. To crank up this huge weight, I mean, I'm 14. It's not that easy to yank this 3-pound weight up off the bottom of the ocean. So I'm cranking, pulling up, cranking, pulling up, cranking. You do this for about 5 to 6 minutes and wondering if there's ever going to be any fish on the end. Is there really something on there, or do I just let it go down to the bottom and start fishing some more? Possibilities you don't might not even have any bait on the end of your hook. But I continued to crank, still not realizing if I had a large fish on there or not. As I start to get the bait up near the top where I can actually see, I look over the edge of the boat. I'm a little nervous because these fish are so large they can pull you into the water. They can weigh twice as much as I did. But I look over the edge of the boat as I'm pulling up, and all of a sudden I see the monstrosity. This fish decides it's going to roll over. He's decided he's caught. Once the halibut decides it's caught, it's over. It's diving down to the bottom. So all of a sudden I see this big white belly roll over, and I swear it's as large as a barn door. boom, starts diving down to the bottom. I see my line just going zzz, zzz. The line's just pulling out. I have no control over it. I can't do anything to stop it. So the fish continues to go down to the bottom of the ocean, and I have the biggest fish that I think I've ever seen. I scream at everybody on the boat, "Hey, I got a halibut! I can't believe how big this thing is!" Everybody gets excited, pulls in all their lines, because you need help with these things. They're so large. So I'm pulling up, just needless to say, I'm fighting this fish for probably an hour, half hour, just to get it up to the boat again. Once we finally get it up to the boat, it's so large we can't even pull it in. You're in danger of pulling these large fish in. If they're not dead before you pull them in the boat, they could break your leg or knock you out into the water, maybe hit your head on the side of the boat, drowned. I mean, you hear these stories all the time with these fish. This one was so large that the area that we had to pull it in was probably as large as this right here. And we had 3 other people already in this area helping me try to get this fish on board. So we decided that we just wouldn't want to pull it in because there's just not enough room and it's too much danger, so we actually had to tie a rope around it to drag it all the way back in. Once we got it back into the area, or back into the marina, we could actually pull it out and see how large it is. It's just hard to believe. I've truly enjoyed fishing for halibut in Alaska the most out of all the fishing that I've done there. The reasons why I like the halibut fishing the best is because they're so large, because you never know if you're ever going to catch one, and the thought of pulling in something that's twice your size, you just can't beat.